Hopper, does it feel like to you the whole training arc that we got at the beginning of the season just amounted to nothing in the grand scheme of things?
I feel like in the comics, we saw a power boost.
Yes.
And in the show, he's still getting his teeth kicked in.
Yeah, we were told the power boost.
Yeah.
Never actually saw it.
Yeah.
Because we saw him get beat by the Mauler twins. We saw him get beat by, in this latest episode, the dragon, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, beat someone, please. Just one person. I need one episode where you beat someone.
I could maybe count on my one hand the amount of fights Invincible's won in the show.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even need 3 fingers, basically. Yeah. It's very little. And he's not up to his full potential, even though he is strong enough to do,
Because by the time we see him at this point in his career in the comics, you can't count how many battles he's won.
He's the go-to guy. He's Cecil's go-to guy.
Yeah, he's winning everything.
Yes.
He gets hit by Immortal, and all he does is move his face at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he's unfazed by the strongest person that humanity has.
Yeah.
You don't see that in this. You don't see it.
He's still like 10-year-old, not 10-year-old. He's still 18-year-old Mark getting his snot kicked in.
And I want to see the progression. We're in season 3.
Yeah.
We're about to get into some heavy-hitting story arcs with Mark.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start believing that he wins those.
Here's the thing, right? This episode was mainly a character progression kind of episode. It wasn't there was a dragon fight, but it was very much like character progression, I think. Like, it was more about the relationship. It was more about Oliver and more about Debbie. And then we get the order stuff coming in. It wasn't a very big action-heavy episode, which is fine, and I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people calling this filler.
It fleshes out the world.
Flesh out the world, and also it's important for the characters.
Yes.
This episode introduces Invincible Inc. It introduces the fact that Mark and Eve want to move out. It introduces the fact that Oliver's making friends, which is a subversion from the comics.
Yeah,
we'll talk
we don't
more
see
about
that
later.
Yeah. So, all that to say, welcome back to the Binge Warmers. My name is Steven.
My name is Hopper.
And this week we are talking about...
Gotta growl that one.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll talk. You ran out of names to say, so...
No, this is for Ben 10.
Oh, that's true. But anyway, this week we are talking about Season 3, Episode 5 of Invincible. But let's talk about last week's episode real quick. We have comment of the week from last week's episode, and this one comes from Cammy is my wife, who says, I think it does work, but they low-key did it too fast in my opinion, talking about the redemption arc for Cecil. And I think that is true. Oh yeah, Nolan. Cecil's never. No, but yeah, is Nolan redeemed? And I think we talked about this last week in the fact that with it being a show, they have to it's all gas, no brakes kind of thing. Yeah. So you don't get to see the conversations and stuff. Because in the comics, you see like weeks and weeks of, because we get a montage of Alan getting tortured or being attempted to be tortured. In the comics, you see Alan and Nolan talking and hanging out and sharing war stories and stuff like that. So you see this progression of it, And I wouldn't even say it's that fast because like he does try to save Oliver's homeworld. Yeah. So the blocks are there already. Yeah. I will say though, if you're just watching it through a lens of just the season, it does seem a little rushed. But ultimately, I don't think it's too rushed.
I think this episode that we just watched, this episode 5, actually solved a lot of problems I've had with the series so far. Maybe not solved problems, but it's a step in the right direction where we get a little more downtime, we get a little more character just interactions. It's not full gas, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it is gas. Like there's cool stuff in this, obviously. Yeah. But we get to slow down and take a little bit more of a break and a breather. I think an episode like this maybe would have been suited better with Alan and Nolan. Like we kind of get them developing that relationship a little bit more, getting Nolan's true thoughts out there, something like that. But I don't think it's super rushed. I mean, the comics, I guess, were just perfectly well balanced.
Yeah, I can see where the comment would see that though.
Yeah, right.
If you don't think about last season, and like the overall thing.
Yeah.
But all that being said, thank you to Cammy as my wife for that comment. Leave your comments for this episode down below, and you may be the one we decide to pick on next week. So, but anyway, let's jump into this episode. So, like you said, we do get Invincible Inc. Yeah. Which I just saw something before we started this episode, so we got to talk about it. Yep. Eve says, we got to find out a way to make money. We saw her last season take a organic apple and turn it into a 24 karat gold apple. Do that 4 times, you're set for the year. Yeah. What are you doing?
Also, biological. I guess in her brain, she doesn't think it's biological because it's just food.
Well, let me take it back. It's organic, not biological.
Same thing, right? Like she shouldn't be able to do biological stuff.
It's living tissue. That apple's dead.
I guess. But she can change dead bodies then?
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. It is a little murky.
But I think it's not poor writing or anything because the mental block is in her mental space.
Exactly.
So if she thinks it's able to be changed, then she can change it.
Right.
So
So that would have solved it, but we do finally get Invincible Inc, which I really loved in the comics.
Yeah.
It's a hero for hire thing. It really makes me think back to Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Yeah, I really think it's fun when heroes say, "I'm broke, need some money.
Yeah,
let me work for you."
And they're going directly to like the biggest clients, like probably people that they've seen in their life as guardians. You know, like need the most help. Like this prison definitely. And even in this episode, we see that it needs help.
Oh, absolutely. Which if I was the prison warden, I'd be like, it's a little suspicious that the day after you come to me, my prison gets attacked.
Especially when a villain shows up, talks to Invincible, and then goes away.
Right.
Like okay, y'all are clearly in cahoots right now.
So it is cool, though. I do like to finally get the introduction to Invincible Inc. But it does bring back to the original question of like, what was this training montage worth? Because you made the argument when we were talking about it, like, oh, well, maybe he's just holding back. If he is, he's a bad superhero because we saw how much damage the prison took from him holding back on a dragon that he doesn't even know if the dragon's human or not, you know, from his perspective. He just thinks it's a massive dragon.
I can't remember. I don't think they've fought him before in the show.
Not at all. He's not seen him.
They might have had something. I think this is the first time I've seen him in the
Nolan
comics,
fights a dragon when he's on vacation with his wife. I don't think it's the same dragon. It's a different dragon.
We get a lot of explanation like the guy in the comics. I think maybe in the later half of this we'll kind of go over some comic inaccuracies because there's a couple things that stood out to me as like not in the comic, but I don't want to step on anyone's toes that hasn't read comics or mainly not even the main Invincible comic, but the Guarding the Globe comic and also the Invincible Universe comic.
Absolutely.
Which were kind of meant to like fill in the gaps between different runs of Invincible. Yeah. And it's just got the other different, like Mr. Liu is a main player in those, and the rest of the Guardians of the Globe and stuff like that. Yeah. So we see that kind of thematically make sense. Right. Cecil is all about making the least amount of casualties, making the deal with the devil, but he's gonna save as many people as he can. Invincible is all about his morals and his moral righteousness or whatever. So he's not willing to work with Titan to break out Multipol, even though that would have saved a ton of time and effort and lives and everything. And Mr. Liu coming in as a dragon is gonna. I mean, it's going to be job security, though. I guess Invincible makes his money. Like, they make 3 paychecks worth of money or whatever. 3 rent checks worth of money or something.
And here's the thing, too. You're not on good terms with Cecil, right? But you have insider information. Even if the guy, Titan, right? He's very honest. He's been so honest with Invincible this whole time. Go to Cecil. Say, hey, rally whoever you got. This prison may be under attack in the next day or 2.
True, yeah.
Get them there. I don't even have to deal with it. Invincible will stay out of it, And you don't have to like Cecil, but that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of people breaking out. And then at the end of the day, Multipol got out anyway. Yeah. Which I do like that. That
was a fun scene.
Yeah, Eve was like, okay, well, we're not that good at superheroes if we still let all of them get out. So she kind of traps all of them back into concrete.
I really wish there's a really funny panel in the comic, and I hate to compare so much the two.
Yeah, I'll find the panel too.
Do you know what I'm talking about though? Where like it's I think his name's Trask. He's like the yellow kind of electric guy, and he's like trying to escape, and he's like, I think he speaks like Russian or something, so he's not very good English, and he just like peeks his head out because Mr. Liu is like broken the prison, and Invincible's sitting there, and he just looks over, and the guy's like peeked his head out, and he goes, "Get back in your cell now!" And he just goes, "Is sorry," and he like waddles back into his cell. It's like the funniest thing. It would have been such a quick little gag. We could have. It would have been easy. Yeah. Even Eve could have said it. And he could have done it.
That would have been awesome. I love that because you do see them in that prison as well.
Yeah, you see a bunch of them in
there. We talk about why is Multipol? Why does it take him literally killing so many of his own self to get out of a cell? Like, why didn't he have that collar on to begin?
I think that's just a brutalist option. Like that's showing us who that character is. He's
absolutely.
He's such a self pain inflicting almost. Like, he doesn't matter as long as the job gets done. He'll do whatever. Yeah. Also, it shows us there's no limit to his power, I don't think.
No, absolutely.
Make as many meat pumps as possible.
You get the little background on him and his sister. Like, they drove their dad. In this, they drove their dad crazy, and he's in the hospital. I'm pretty sure in the comics, he killed himself.
I remember that from the comics as well. Maybe that was just their way of not making it brutal or something.
Or maybe reintroducing the dad later on as like a redemption thing for Paul. Because we see Kate talking to him and trying to get him more redeemed.
I think they'll do something different with Kate in this because in the comics, like, she just kind of does whatever.
She turns into kind of an airhead who's just Immortal's wife.
Yeah.
She'll make like snide comments to like Eve about like very superficial things. And I'm just like, Kate, what are you doing right now?
We don't like you.
Yeah, like you're just an airheaded lady right now. You're supposed to be a superhero.
But in this, like, I guess Multi-Paul visits Kate, which is funny that like they're Asian and their names are Kate and Paul.
Well, it shows the
American
Americanized.
English.
Yeah, because they were taken over by the American government.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they were renamed.
I bet you they were. Like that's what I think.
Interesting.
Like the Americans were like, we don't like those names. You're gonna be Kate and you're gonna be Paul.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But we see like he gives you like one of those little like people holding hands
That's
kind of
like a
things.
sign thing.
So I think they're gonna do more with Kate and Paul, and I think the fact that he's voiced by Shimu Liu.
Yeah, they're not gonna throw that away.
Right. I mean, because he doesn't do much in the comics, as far as I remember.
No.
I think he's just part of Mr. Liu's like gang.
Yeah, part of the Order.
So I mean, I think it's smart to kind of expand on those characters, especially like Kate didn't have much to do, and Paul definitely didn't have much to do. So like, yeah, we'll team them up and maybe they can work some stuff out.
I love the reintroduction of Machine Head.
Oh God, yeah.
I love listening to him talk. I love his just smart assiness, his snideness. He's just such a great character.
You catch his like Hawk Tua comment.
Yeah, I caught it. I was like, but also just like how brutal he is. Like he's kind of comically talking, but at the same time, he'll murder you.
Sure.
He does not care. You know, like he even tells Titan, like, I will eat their heart. Like I'll kill your family and eat their hearts or something like that.
I like too that he's in this prison that's not really taking care of his obviously very like complex head. So he's kind of malfunctioning and he's coughing up like sparks and stuff.
It's so funny. And then you find out Titan's been like, hey, you can have your spot. You know, just let me have the city and I'll break you out and you can do whatever you want. And Titan is so smart. He really is.
He gets it because even like at the very end of it, he gets everything he wants. And he screws over exactly the guy he wanted to screw over. And he gets everything he wants out of the Order. He just, he played him. Like, he played the system very well.
And it brings into question, because he even says, and he doesn't exactly say what his crime is if they don't do drugs and stuff, but he cleans up the city. Right? He's like, there's no murders here. People are moving here. They're living here. It's like a utopia type thing. All because of me running the place. And that's good because it reminded me of season 2 of Luke Cage.
Yeah.
By the end of it, Luke Cage is the villain, the kingpin essentially of Harlem, but he's gonna rule it like in a fine way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of works sometimes. You know what I mean? The only question is you can't accept that all the time because it's definitely the person in charge, not the way that you're running things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I really like Titan. I really think he's super cool. Not the coolest, like not the most flashy superpower, but you know, don't underestimate him because he's very smart.
I think it just kind of demonstrates like his strength, maybe his like durability, because he does weather a lot of things. Like, that's kind of his thing. And in the comics, less or so. Like he's getting more expansion in the show as well, which I like. I always liked him in the show in the comic as well, so I'm glad he's getting more to do.
Yeah.
But we do see a lot of, I guess, growth. I like his powers. He's kind of like the Thing if he could turn it on and off, like almost like the Thing mixed with like Kingpin kind of.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty sick. No, I definitely like Titan. And like you said, I love all these comic side characters that are getting fleshed out in the show. That's why we watch, you know?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, can they stretch it out to 10 seasons? If he keeps doing things like this, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't feel like filler. I've watched a lot of Shippuden animes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's filler. This is not filler. You know what I mean? This just feels organic to the story.
Yeah. There's no like Zack and Cody style. We switch bodies for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it wouldn't work in that show because they're twins.
Yeah.
There's no Wizards of Waverly Place style.
Yeah.
We switched bodies for the day kind of thing.
Which those shows you could argue are nothing but filler.
Yeah, right.
But we get a change in Oliver from the comics where he's actually having human friends. I think this will conflict later on with some of the things that we see Oliver do in the comics because the reason that Oliver does most of the things he does in the comics is because he genuinely can't understand empathizing with humans.
Yeah.
So I am curious about how this sets up the future story arcs that he has because he's starting to empathize with humans. He has human friends. He doesn't instantly kill
the bullies.
The bullies.
That's a big change.
That's a huge change. He just pants them and makes them run away, you know? So I'm interested to see his story arc. And I like that it's going from whiny Oliver to growing up Oliver.
Yeah.
Like when they were kicking each other under the table, I thought that was the funniest scene. It felt so organic. It felt so natural.
That's one of the spots where like the animation kind of bugs me is because like none of them are changing their faces at all.
Yeah.
Like Eve is obviously very embarrassed that Debbie knows that she was in the room banging her son.
Yeah, and she's just talking about like blueberry muffins and stuff.
Right, but it should have been like, yeah, I tried to make pancakes once and the blueberry they made it soggy. In the show, her face, you can show a clip. It's her face. Yeah, I tried to make blueberry. It's in her voice, but it's not in the animation. You see that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Still, it's a good scene. Could have been animated a little bit better too.
Yeah, it is funny though. I like that Oliver's not really understanding the problem. Like
Yeah.
he's just trying to be honest with everybody. He's like,
Yeah.
why'd you fly out of the window just to come at the front door? That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, and we can address the animation because I had a conversation with a guy at Seven Brew of all things.
That's
who was
interesting.
talking to me
Yeah.
about it.
They
There's
ask you about your
several-
favorite shows a lot too.
Yeah, they do because they have them like written up there and stuff. But it brings up a good question, right? For everyone who's bashing the animation, right? Do you want the show every season, every year, right? If you do, you have to give up animation time. Unless you do, because you say, oh, well, a lot of anime is once a year. Take a look at the crunch time that those animators have to go
bad.
through. They're not treated very well
And
at
no
all.
one's making money.
No one's making money. It's like they're working 80-hour work weeks.
That is a labor of love because
Yes.
Japanese people love to make their boss happy.
Yes. So that we can't go to that. So
No.
once a year means maybe you do have to cut on animation. Now you could, because the guy brought up Arcane. Arcane had a 3-year split.
Yep.
The animation was phenomenal for seasons 1 and 2. But are we as Invincible fans willing to give up 3 years to get a better animation?
Yeah.
And that's the question you have to ask. And I know that, oh, well, there's a big skip between 1 and 2. That was COVID. That was not the same kind of thing. They didn't even know if they were getting a season 2. Like
Yeah.
that was a completely different thing.
Yeah.
From season 2 to season 3, if you'd seen a 3-year difference, I guarantee you the animation looks so much better. But we have to give up 3 years to watch it.
That first season looks pretty good, I think, too.
Yeah,
like the
absolutely.
animation looks like they're trying to sell you an animated show.
Exactly.
And it kind of peters off in the second season where
Mm-hmm.
I understand, we're talking about the crunch time and everything. I think the problem I see is that it is Amazon and you can't throw more money and more effort and more animators at it. You know what I mean? The only problem is I get it, it does take a while, and
Yeah.
I guess I would prefer them more regular than not.
And it's also more annoying with Amazon. You can tell they're okay with doing that because you look at one of the most boring shows that they cook out, which is Rings of Power.
Sure.
Gorgeous show.
Also, very expensive.
Yeah, 2 years production time in between seasons. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Every scene, every piece of it is just amazing to look at.
I've not seen any of it, but I'll take your word.
I'm telling you, it is. There are some discrepancies like with the armor. They're like, this armor looks so fake compared to the other thing. But the sets and the scenery, Amazon's willing to put the money in for settings and stuff. You know
I think
what I mean?
they really were banking heavy on that. Maybe that's where all the money's going. To
Yeah.
Rings of Power.
And I think too, it's Amazon higher ups that think they hear cartoon show and they think, oh well, you don't need as much budget as a Lord of the Rings remake.
You're so
You know what
right,
I mean?
dude. Animation gets immediately shut down and crapped on
Yeah.
compared to this poorly written show. Well, you like it. I'm not gonna say.
Well,
poorly
the thing too is,
it's boring, right? I heard
it's a love-hate relationship. I love the world. I'm not really liking where it's going. But the thing is, too, you can throw all the money you want in an animated show. At the end of the day, it takes time to animate things.
Yeah.
You can't just throw a bunch of money at it and you can do it in 1 year, unless you just hire a bunch of animators.
That's what I think they should do. And maybe they did do that to just focus on the important scenes because we've got 2 very important events back to back here.
I think we get really good at. If we don't, then I can start seeing the animation issues.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing the show on the animation though. Could it be better? Yes, but at the same time, I'm enjoying the show enough that the animation's not really killing me.
I think there's just moments where it's kind of like the glass has been broken, or
Right.
I can see it now. I know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But no, I give them their credit, and I think they do kind of compensate with the voice because the voice acting is very good. It's very professional, talented, actual
Stephen
live action. acting.
Yin is Yin. I can't pronounce his last name. Save my life. He is phenomenal as Invincible.
He is
Perfect
even J.K.
casting.
Simmons is Omni-Man, perfect.
Absolutely.
Seth Rogen is on the Aliens, really good.
Yeah.
Even
Which,
I think again,
I don't even think he's getting paid for his role because he is a producer.
he's getting paid. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Well, not for the acting. I think he's as the producer.
I
he's just making through his check.
think you'd be very surprised. I'm sure
Really?
maybe he's just raking in more money based on
Yeah.
producing, but whatever. Also, too, we talk about animation. He got a lot of crap for really crunching his animators on Sausage Party.
Yeah.
So I think he's maybe more. Him and just his group are more in line and more aware of animators' well-being, where it's not going to be as
No one wants the crunch.
Right.
I don't want anyone crunched on time to
Yeah.
get something out. I really don't.
we talk about the
Because-
Spider-Verse too. That's the same
Yes.
exact problem. It takes 2 years to get another.
My
Spider-Verse.
issue is don't give a deadline and then go, oh, well, we were crunching.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what it was, they didn't have anything for the post credits. So they're like, oh, another one next year.
Yeah. And I was
Can't
like,
do
oh, we're getting it next. That's huge. Great cliffhanger just to get it next year.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. It's been 2, almost 3 now.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, all that to say, great show. Do you have anything
Overall. Oh yeah, let's talk about the dragon fight, dude. The entire dragon fight was really fun to watch. Again, animation aside, it was pretty well done. I think.
Yeah. And it was fun seeing a dragon.
Yeah.
Like an Asian version of a dragon, you know, just Mark punching it and stuff, picking it by the tail, throwing it around. It's fun seeing a dragon fight. You know, I don't know what else to say about it.
I think that character, Mr. Liu, is kind of underplayed in the comics, like until later.
Yeah.
If you, it's very mild spoilers for comics.
Right.
That's not the biggest deal. He is alive and well at the end of this, so we know he kind of comes back probably.
Yeah.
In the order, he is not the leader. There's a guy named Set who comes together. He's like a kind of a demon character, and he brings all these villains together.
Yeah.
We get to see a bunch of these in the end. We see War Woman, who is the original War Woman's girlfriend, who has turned evil after finding Amazonia or whatever, like the Amazon parody kind of thing.
Yeah.
Slaying Mantis, who they mentioned him by name. He kind of raises up his hand to ask a question or something.
Machine Head's like, I don't want to fucking hear shit from you, bud. I don't like you.
He's like an Irish or Scottish or something. He kind of comes around to the Guardians side because he's on parole. And he's like, I'm not going to be in prison. I'll work for the good guys. I just want money, essentially.
Yeah.
So they break.
That's the only thing I'm in here for.
Yeah. So I like him. He's sort of like a Scorpion, I guess, parody because he's got like a bug suit almost.
Yeah.
I don't know if I doubt he's stuck in there or whatever.
Yeah.
We get Red Eye, whose powers come from this like interdimensional creature that like fused with him and his.
Yeah, my girlfriend's like, why are his eyes held open? I'm like, I'm assuming it's something to do with his powers.
Oh no, that's Insomniac. He's like a more psychic kind of guy. He does like psychic influence and stuff.
Got you. Damn, you're ahead of me in the comics now.
Well, I think you haven't read the supplemental stuff like Guardians of the Globe in this universe, which I love that stuff.
No, absolutely.
We get this character called Yeti, who's like this. You can put a picture up if you want, but he's like this big Yeti guy, and his face is just like in his torso. He's somehow like the most expressive character in comics. Like he's every frame he's in is like a reaction gif. It's like the funniest thing, dude.
I love that.
But so the order's coming in later, and I guess they're gonna bring more of that in earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll have something to do with like kind of after the Viltrumite War.
Yeah. Well, I think most people know the Viltrumite Wars have.
Maybe after, yeah. That's kind of when it is in the comics. Like it kind of when Mark's away doing all this stuff, the Guardians get bolstered by new characters, and there's also new villains because there is such an increased threat on the globe. Anyway, so a lot of these characters, I'm excited to see them kind of get more playtime in the main story. I guess. Oh, Mr. Liu too. Like his powers. So in ancient times, there was, it's obviously in Asia somewhere, but there was a dragon like threatening the entire world. It's like a world-killing dragon.
Oh, really?
It's a big threat, and so they have to find one person to like bond it to a human to keep it kind of trapped in a human form.
Yeah.
And over time, it kind of becomes bonded with the Mr. Liu character.
Yeah.
In the comics, Cecil is working to save Mr. Liu because he's all like metal, like his mouth is metal and his whatever. He's all kind of augmented.
Because he wasn't meant to live this long.
Right, yeah. And if he dies, the dragon's just set free. So in this, when the dragon like disappears into smoke, when they beat the dragon, or they allegedly shoot Mr. Liu in the head, I'm thinking like that's not how that works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's not what happens.
But that's not what happens because he's alive. They show him, and I don't know, his psychic guy like spits him out of his mouth into this guy.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is with that.
I don't know.
I was like, that's not in the comics.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess they're changing how it works a little bit, but that's fine. I can accept that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just like that whole mythology. I love like the supplemental characters.
And that's the thing. If we get that stuff in here, don't call it filler because it's not filler. It's world building, fleshing out the universe.
This
of
is the show. Yeah.
So. I hope we get more Flak Jacket when he shows up.
Tech Jacket?
Yeah, Tech Jacket, not Flak Jacket.
Do we think he's gonna? Because he had his own comic, which I know they have.
It wasn't successful. It only had like 16 issues or something.
Yeah, it wasn't successful, but it's still a separate thing. Like I think Savage Dragon and I think Spawn show up in Invincible, and they're definitely not going to show up. Fire
Breather was supposed to show up in Invincible.
Fire Breather too, yeah. There's a whole group of people he's with, right? So,
but all that to say, great episode, great episode 5.
Fun episode, yeah.
Yeah, next week's episode, it looks like we're getting Metroplex introduction.
Yeah, Aaron Paul.
Yeah, Aaron Paul's voicing him. I love that whole story.
That's a good story.
I don't know if they'll wrap the whole story because it comes out in several issues in the comics.
Yeah.
So we'll probably just get the first part and see the next part next season or something like that.
Maybe.
Because he shows up after the whole multiversal issue.
Yeah.
So I think we just see the start of it in this one.
Although like the Flaxen's like that comes back much later, but like the Flaxen stuff was spread out over several issues. In the first season of this, they just put it in one thing.
Right.
Like it was just 1 or 2 episodes of Flaxen's.
Yeah.
Which I liked that they did that because it made Nolan a little bit more intimidating. This is not your world to conquer, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So hard. Let us know in the comments what you think of this episode. Is it filler? Is it not filler? Do you like the animation? Do you see why the animation has to be like it is? And ultimate question of, do you like or dislike Mark's training arc and how useful / useless
Did he get any
feels?
stronger? We keep saying he's holding back, but like, why is he losing fights to ghost dragons?
Yeah, 138% strength increase, and this is what it shows.
Nolan would have had that thing made into sushi.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Big facts. So, like I said, stay tuned for next week. We are the Binge Warmers, and we will see you guys next week.